Hello and welcome. It's Wine Wednesday. My name is Madeline. I am the co-founder of Wine Folly. You already knew that. I'm thirsty. I hope you are too. And tonight we're talking about wine glasses, and I brought several glasses from the big to the small to the totally ridiculous. We're going to try them all and talk about what makes wine glasses unique, what's special about them, how to pick them out if you're actually wanting to upgrade your set, or if you don't have wine glasses and you want some. You can use, I'm using a red wine tonight. This is a Sangiovese called Montefalco Rosso from Umbria. You can use any old red wine to taste along, or you don't even have to taste along. You can just pour yourself some lemonade and have a good time. So, while I'm talking about the basics, getting you prepped and ready to go, tell me where you're tuning in from if you're tuning in live. I want to know where you're at and who's watching, because this is live and I want to hear from you. I'm not just a talking head, like I'm a real person. This is me, I'm here in Seattle, and you're in there, and I want to know where there is. Anyway, howdy. Okay, so, wine glasses. Why are they important? Why do they even matter? And who the hell made up this crazy breakable thing anyway? It's interestingly enough, this last year in February of 2015, a fascinating study came out where these awesome Japanese scientists figured out how to photograph how alcohol was evaporating in a glass. And they were able to test it on very different types of glasses. And they wanted to understand, now, the importance of alcohol evaporation in a glass is all the little aroma compounds latch onto the ethanol, and as it vaporizes, as it evaporates, that's how we get the aromas, the smells, the beautiful yumminess in wine. So what they figured out how to do was how to photograph it. And they noticed on the wine glasses the best photographs, as the wine was leaving the rim of the glass right here, they noticed that wine glasses would deliver a perfectly cylindrical shape of alcohol evaporation. And this tells us that in a wine glass versus, say, something like this, this is a very consistent way to release aromas. Whereas with this guy, if there's even the slightest draft in the room, one side would be lopsided, or you wouldn't get anything very much aroma at all. It would just kind of be random. And this is the reason why not just wine glasses use this sort of a shape, but other sort of fine drink glasses. So from whiskey to even fine coffees, you'll see a lot of glasses in this shape because people want to collect the aromas, to smell them, to understand what they're tasting. And so much of what wine is the aroma, and that's why we do glasses. So how the heck do you pick what glass to use? And does it matter if it's stemmed or stemless, and crystal versus non-crystal, and all those types of questions? All right, I'm going to see where everyone's from. Baltimore! Michael is coming in from Baltimore. Hello, welcome. It's like 8 o'clock there. That's the perfect time to tune in. Walla Walla, awesome. You have delicious Syrah in Walla Walla. You're a lucky duck. French Wine Journal says, hi, everyone. Where are you coming in from, French Wine Journal? Trent Combs is from Philadelphia. Is it cool there? I've been hearing a lot of cool things about Philadelphia. You gotta let me know. I need to get back over there. I haven't been there in a long time. Seattle. Hey, from Jan and Bob. Awesome, from the home place in Seattle. It's nice to see you. Christina is coming in from Santa Barbara. Awesome! My friend, I was just with Brian McClintock, and he lives in Santa Barbara. You guys probably know each other, right? It's like this really small town. Just kidding. All right. Let's see. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Awesome. Zara, I think you have us all beat. You're tuning in from Bulgaria. Is it 2 a.m. there? How early is it? That's amazing. Welcome from Bulgaria. I am super impressed. You win the Distance Award tonight. You're awesome. Also, our book is going to be published in Bulgarian. Woot! You're awesome. Okay, so back to the next. So my next question to you is, and I'll go through this next set. What are you drinking tonight? And did you get like a regular coffee cup, a glass, and a wine glass? What are you working with? What are your tools? What are you drinking? I want to know. All right. Okay, so we know a little bit about how aromas evaporate, and we know why this glass shape is important. Let's talk about the differences, the basic differences between the compounds in the glass versus crystal glass, and whether or not a stem or stemless matters. These two concepts, you can get into the minutiae and you can get very, very deep with these two topics, but it's actually very simple. It's beautifully simple. When it comes to stemless versus stemmed, and you'll notice that all my glasses are stemmed, and this is a preference thing, it doesn't really technically matter that much. As long as you have the right shape that you're working with, it doesn't really matter if you want a stemmed or stemless glass. That said, there are a few features and benefits that to a stemmed glass that might push it over. I know they're hard to clean, they're a big pain in the butt, and they break all the time, but they might want to have one, and here's why. Firstly, when you have your hand on the glass, on the stem, your hands are there, they get kind of sticky and gross, and you're drinking a classy drink, and it's kind of like messy, and your hands are warm, and they might warm up the wine. That's reason number one. It's just like, it's kind of messy, you're holding the glass, it's right there. And reason number two is really clever, and I actually just saw this in the Uncorked show, and Master Sommelier, who was it? Fred Dame actually said it. He said it so simply. He says, you washed your hands, right? You used some kind of soap, and I literally just washed my hands, and I can smell the soap on my hand. Well, when your hand is right here, your hand is actually closer. The aromas of this soap, or perfume, or whatever the heck you have on your body, is a lot closer to your nose. So the farther distance you are away, well, the less you're going to smell your hands. Sounds kind of like a beautiful thing. So there's the two features of having a stemmed glass. Now, in terms of crystal versus glass, the differences here are more about the technicalities of tasting and the experience, the overall experience. Glass is not that durable. Albeit this glass is much more durable than this glass, but this glass is also a heck of a lot thicker. Like the lip of it is a lot thicker, whereas the lip of this is a lot thinner. And when you're talking about drinkware and tasting and that sort of a thing, the less you have the glass as the experience of tasting, the less there is a glass in the way of you and the wine, the better. So ideally, you would be in outer space or something like that, floating through the air and just tasting the wine in the air, and that would be the most perfect way to taste wine. I don't know if this is true. I wonder if how aromas evaporate in space. I could be totally wrong. I've never been to space, so. But if you could have some sort of space situation where you could still smell the wine and then just suck it out of the air, that would probably be the best. So again, the less lip you have, oftentimes the better, and you'll find that the finest glassware are usually a crystal blend with some minerals, so it strengthens the glass, and when you hold the glass, it'll be like feather light, and it will scare the heck out of you, and then when you taste it, it's barely there. It's barely there. I'm not going to get into what innuendo I just talked about. All right, so let's see what people are drinking. All right, Zara in Bulgaria says it's 1 a.m. I'm impressed. Zara is in the UK. Oh, you're in the UK now. Well, that's okay. I still call Bulgaria is amazing. Okay. Unbottling says Sauvignon Blanc from a Riedel glass. Lovely. Zara is drinking Valtellina Superiore. That is from Veneto in Italy. Awesome. Trent Combs is having Solmeyer Tempranillo. Solmeyer Tempranillo. I feel like I should know that, and I suck for not knowing that. Tell me where that's from. Christina Arellano, sorry, I butchered that, is drinking La Tarasque 2011 Old Vine Grenache. Drinking it out of a stemless glass. Awesome. Don't stick your tongue out at me. Diana Peterson is having Book Walter's Subplot in Scott Zwiesel. These are Scott Zwiesel glasses. I like those glasses. These are Riddel's over here, by the way. And RTC says uncorked. Okay, thanks for your feedback, guys. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to get into this and talk about the process while I'm doing it so it's more fun. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this is a Sangiovese, in all these different glasses, and then we're going to talk about the experience and how they taste. And the first one I'm going to use is a coffee cup. And naturally, since I'm very thirsty, I'm going to fill it up pretty much all the way to the top, just like a cup of coffee. Second one, this is a port glass for drinking fine port wines, a sweet wine. This technically, in terms of what Riddell thinks it is a Sauvignon Blanc glass. Here to Diana, who's having, no, you're not having, someone else is having Sauvignon Blanc, sorry. And then, when you pour Sauvignon Blanc, it's a 5-ounce pour. It's about 5 ounces. I'm almost out of wine. So you're going to have about this much space in this glass. This is technically a Malbec glass, and it was designed by Garifuna, I think, and Riddell to create the perfect experience for tasting Malbec. And then this guy over here is a Bordeaux glass. So for drinking those big red Bordeaux, we'll just tap it. Okay. Glasses are filled. Alexis is drinking a Napa Cab. Beautiful thing. That's pretty good for this glass. All right, so you see, with a small glass like this, you have a smaller pour. These are about 5 ounces. I got a little bit generous here. This is maybe about 4.5 ounces because we ran out of wine. And then this is a nice, generous 10-ounce pour of coffee. And I want to start with this one because my coffee wine is the best. I wish I could show this to you. It really looks like coffee. So how the heck do I smell out of this coffee mug? And Seattle, do you like Herkimer? This is like one of my favorite coffee places. So immediately when I'm tasting this wine, I can't smell it at all. I can barely smell this wine at all. There's like a subtle sort of a wine smell, like a whiff, like you walked into a winery and you get that kind of, ooh, there's winemaking going on here. And that's about what I get out of this guy. Let's taste it. Wow. Okay, so that's a very disjointed experience. From you going from no aroma whatsoever to tasting something that is so intense and overwhelming, like it's almost like the curtain doesn't match the carpet. I am not prepared. I am not prepared for what I'm tasting right here. I do get some flavors, some berry flavors. It's tart. I feel like I can taste the alcohol. It tastes high alcohol to me. But I'm not getting a whole lot else. It's disjointed experience. If I was eating pizza, though, and just using this as a wine next to my pizza, I could see that working. Like, I just want to have a little bit of something. So there's your coffee mug experience. I'm just going to pour this in here so you can see how much wine I poured out. And maybe talk about, now we have an opportunity to talk about what's happening here. So this is your alternative hipster experience, right? I've got my ball jar glass, and I'm going to drink wine out of it. This is actually a lot better than the coffee mug, to be honest. I get a little bit more aromatics. Suddenly I can smell more floral notes in this wine. I can almost swirl it, which is good, because the swirling releases the aroma compounds. And if I cup it, I get a little bit more of my, the smell of my hands. I just washed my hands, so it's not pretty. But so there you go. There's that. Now, that sucked. I don't know about you guys, but when you're drinking wine, it kind of comes across to me like beer in a weird kind of way. Like, oh, here's some alcohol, have fun. or almost like a casual cocktail drink. And I find myself not smelling it, not thinking too hard about it, just off the cuff here, because I just tried it. All right. So somebody's having a Pinot from Santa Barbara and a Napa Cab. So the people who are having red wines, I want to know your feedback. If you're drinking it out of a coffee cup or a regular glass like this, think about this experience. And now let's compare it to something in between. Maybe this white wine glass right here. This is ideally for a white wine. The goal of having a white wine glass is you want to keep the wine cool. So you have a smaller container to hold the wine so that the wine is closer together. You get less surface area, it warms up less. And then there's also the benefit that white wines have a different set of aroma compounds that we focus on that communicate just fine with a smaller bell shape altogether. So there's primary floral aromas and herbal aromas and a different type of fruit that you get in white wine. So, however, smelling this wine, it's interesting. It smells very, very floral in this glass. Like much, much more floral. Like here was little berries and tart, and now it's smelling like almost like roses and hibiscus. And this is a Sangiovese from Italy, by the way. But I'm getting these amazing rose, floral tones, hibiscus, that sort of a thing. And when I taste it, it tastes really bitter. And this is interesting to me because, when I drink white wines aren't really known for their bitterness. They have a lot of tartness and sour and acidity and that sort of thing, but they don't have tannin like a red wine does. And this glass shape to me seems to whoa, tannin. I got a lot of tannin when I actually taste the wine. It smells beautiful, but the tannin is like... All right, moving along. So these two glasses, and I know I have a ridiculous number of glasses, but the reason why I wanted to is I want to talk about the difference between these two red wine experiences. And the reason why is because you might prefer a certain type of wine, and one of these glasses might be your preference. So if you're going out to buy glasses, I don't recommend you have a set of 4 different glasses. That's ridiculous. You should maybe have 1 or 2, and choose a glass based on the type of wine that you like the best. So for example, Alexis, you're drinking Napa Cab. Let's say you love Cabernet Sauvignon. Well, maybe you should buy a glass that's better for Cabernet Sauvignon because that's what you enjoy most of the time. Or Pinot Noir. I saw Pinot Noir. The Gainey Pinot Noir, RTC. Your Santa Barbara Pinot. Maybe you want a Pinot glass, something with a bigger, more voluptuous shape to collect more of those aromas. Maybe even though you're drinking Cab out of that glass, that's fine to do it, but because you like Pinot. So, Petit Chablis from Bourgogne. Jan says that she's drinking a Petit Chablis, so maybe a white wine glass. All right, so this is what I discovered over the last year because Garifina sent me this glass, and I've been drinking out of these guys for forever. This is a big Bordeaux glass, and this is slightly smaller. But it also makes this kind of turbino shape. And I found it very interesting to taste wine out of this glass, certain types of wines. So I want to test it with this Sangiovese because Sangiovese is a very spicy wine. And I have reason to believe that this turbino shape will reduce the spiciness in this wine, whereas this one may not. I don't know. We're going to find out. So let's give it a sniff and a whirl. Okay, so right off the bat, I lose a lot of that beautiful floral character that I actually had in this wine. And now, I'm getting a lot more focused smells, and it could be because the shape of this glass is so tight right here that it's spearing me in the nose, and all I smell is red fruit, pretty much. And it smells alcoholic. Red fruit, a little bit of that hibiscus note on the finish, but mostly like red fruit, candied red fruit, alcohol. So let's give it a taste. All right, definitely. This wine has a lot less tannin with this shape than with this white wine, which is interesting because they look a lot similar. But for some reason, when I taste this wine, maybe it's due to the delivery of the aromas, the way this delivers aromas, the sharper, more intense fruit aromas versus the flower that I was getting in this one. It's remarkably different, and it's very interesting to try. But what I really wanted to do was compare it against the Bordeaux glass, so let's give that one a whirl, and we'll do feedback. All right, so with this guy, I really got to stick my nose in the glass and swirl a lot to even smell it at all. I get a lot more sort of stewed fruit aromas, whereas this one was more candied fruit. I still get some of those candied fruit notes, but I really got to seek them out. A little more. There are some floral aromas. I'm getting a little bit more violet. This one's a lot harder for me to pick out flavors and smells, just because I'm really having to bury in there. Yeah. Okay, so just as I imagined, actually, this one seems to make this wine a little less spicy than this one. Let's just be sure. I'm going to wait for the palate to set in. It takes about 40 seconds for that full taste to come. Yeah, it tastes sweeter. This is a sweeter and less tannin comes through on this in this glass shape. Very interesting. I've actually never sat here and tasted against these three glasses against each other. I mean, I've tested different wines, but never just like, oh, I'm going to taste it against a white wine glass against these two other red wine glasses. I wish I had a Pinot glass here. I'd love to taste that too. But this just shows you how much wine glasses really affect taste. And, I'm not making this stuff up. Like, I'm just telling you what's coming out of my brain right now. And I'm really seeing a major difference. If I had to choose a glass, which one I would want to drink, I wanted the sweet berry bomb. This one's delicious. It would go well with pizza. It would be great just to sit around and drink and stuff. And that's surprising to me. They think it's a good glass for Malbec or Syrah, that kind of a thing. I think it's a good glass for Sangio too. So there we go. I want to hear your questions. Let's talk about what you want to know about glasses, and tell me some things like what you're looking for, what you want to, how much should I spend on a glass, things like that. I can answer those types of questions. And while you're thinking of something to ask, I'm going to talk a little bit about glass care and picking out a glass and what's important. So we'll use this guy just to talk about it because he's the easiest. And he helps demonstrate this perfectly. I picked this glass for a couple of reasons. I wanted a big glass. I wanted to have big red wines. When I purchased these glasses, I was really into some bigger, bolder wines. And I wanted to be able to have those wines, deliver the aromas, but not too much aroma. So I got these glasses for this purpose. I also found myself drinking a lot of Cabernet and Pinot Noir. And I thought, well, I ought to get a glass that's big enough for both of them. So I ended up opting for the Bordeaux because I knew it would work for both. When buying a glass, though, there's a couple of things you should think about. And the most important thing is the thing we don't even think about at all. And how the heck am I going to clean this thing? Am I going to throw it in the dishwasher? If it's leaded crystal, no, you should not throw it in the dishwasher. That's a bad idea. If it's glass, you can wash it in the dishwasher just fine. There are some lead-free crystal glasses that will do a dishwasher just fine. But me personally, I drink wine at night. My partner, we're hanging out, there's just two of us, we have two glasses, we're going to hand wash them. And our glasses will last a very, very long time, not going through those heat cycles. So he doesn't wash the glasses. And the reason why, he made me a deal. He's like, well, I can't stick my hand in the glass to clean it. So it's not going to be as clean because you can. So if you can't stick your hand and get the sponge down to the bottom just by using your finger like that, or if you can't get your hand actually in the glass to clean it, then, you're missing out, man. You need to get a glass you can actually clean. So he's a very lucky guy because he doesn't have to clean the glasses. And I'm delighted that I can, every single time I do it, I'm like, ooh, I can stick my hand in it. I feel very delicate and ladylike. Right. So that is, to me, the most important thing to think about when you're buying glasses is how the heck am I going to clean it? The next thing you should think about, other thing we don't ever talk about, is how am I going to store this thing? Where is it going to go in my house, and how's it going to fit in the cupboards, and do I have enough space for it? Is it going to sit upside down, hanging upside down on one of those hooks? That's a pretty good way to store glasses, but do you have space for that? This is big clearance that you need. So just a little bit of consideration for that. We actually have a whole separate credenza, because I have 2 sets of 12 glasses, and just dedicated to glass. Madeline's glassware problem goes in that credenza. So this was how I solved my problem. You have to figure out how you solve it on your own. But it's a good argument for stemless glasses right there. If you don't have the space, what are you going to do? You got to do what you got to do. And then, if your shelves are too short and you can't even stick it in the shelves, these are things to think about. Just, simple things. As far as brand preference and that kind of a thing, I can't really comment. I've observed glasses in restaurants do extremely well or do extremely poorly, mainly because the heat cycles they go through in restaurant service. And I don't think that same kind of heat cycle situation is going to be happening with you at home, especially if you're hand washing. All right, we got some questions. Bruno says, usually I use a Riedel Extreme Cabernet Sauvignon. That's what this one is. That looks like the one on your right. This is the Riedel Extreme. This is actually the Riedel Extreme Restaurant Series. I just got them from a distributor because they were cheaper. Hello. Joining late. I'm joining from Mexico. Emilio, that's awesome. Welcome from Mexico. You're awesome. All right, the Petit Chablis performed very differently in the different glasses. That's wonderful. I'm glad you were able to taste that. Do you think the difference in glass is as dramatic with a white wine? Unbottling has a question. Yes. Yes, I do. And the best example of that I can think of is actually champagne. And you'd be and now maybe I'm being a butt by putting champagne in the white wine category, but most people drink champagnes out of flutes, and I've been starting to actually use a white wine glass to drink champagne out of, and I'm enjoying them a lot more because for the most part it's not about the bubbles for me, it's about tasting the champagne and enjoying the champagne. I can actually smell it a little bit more and have that experience. And when I have it in a champagne glass, it's harder to handle. I usually knock them over and break them. And also, the bubbles are not as important to me as the taste of champagne. So the different glass does matter to me. Now here's something interesting about white wines. If you're getting a white wine, like a Sauvignon Blanc, zesty, light, and you might be more focused on these high-toned aromatics, the floral aromas, smells, bell pepper, jalapeno, whatever you have in your Sauvignon Blanc, and this is a perfect way to experience this wine. However, if you have a full-bodied white wine, like a Cabernet Sauvignon, a Chardonnay, you might want to have something where you have a little bit more aroma collecting. And the reason for this is, white wines like Chardonnay that are aged in oak or have that kind of, they have a little bit of oxidation. And oxidation is technically a tertiary flavor. And so you have primary flavors from the grape, secondary flavors are from fermentation, tertiary aromas, third-area aromas are from aging, including oak or oxidation. And these aged flavors tend to do better. These tertiary notes, the smell of aging, tends to do better with a little bit more body in that glass to collect those aromas. You're not so focused on that high-toned fruit, the floral aromas, that sort of a thing. So I would say, yes, glass matters very much so with white wines. In terms, you'll even see, I've seen a few people with like a Riesling using even a different shaped glass than this one, using a much more, almost like a tiny version of this, and sometimes with a little outward lip, so that it really sort of collects those aromas and then releases them all around the glass. Because when you're releasing them over a wider area, you can kind of like move your nose around the glass and smell it. So interestingly enough. All right, so let's see. We've got some more questions, and I want to make sure I get through them. How does a Chardonnay glass affect a white wine, and shall we drink Chablis in a Chardonnay glass? Okay, so a Chardonnay glass is, this being a Sauvignon Blanc glass, I don't have a good Chardonnay glass, but imagine this glass a little bit wider and shorter, a little bit more like almost more like a Pinot Noir glass, if you want to look up Pinot glass. I think we can maybe throw up a link to our different types of wine glasses article and show you what that looks like. So it's a little bit wider, and you want that for a few reasons. You really want to collect those tertiary aromas, those aged aromas that you get in Chardonnay, even if it is a Chablis. And also, especially actually even with Chablis, because Chablis tends to be so acidic, so tart, a little bit wider tends to reduce that taste of acidity that you get, that sharpness that you get in the wine. Yeah, this one's pretty spicy and tart just straight off, whereas this one with a little bit more space didn't really communicate that way. Michael Blum asked the question of the night. Question of the night. All right, is a $100 wine glass really worth it? I love this question. Okay, I want to marry it. Okay, so I have a lot of friends in the business who are drinking out of the Zalto glasses. It's an Austrian brand. I've heard they use titanium in their blend of crystal that they make their glasses with. I don't know if that's true. This is hearsay. I will tell you, as somebody who's tasted and picked up and tried a lot of different wine glasses, there is something very special about that experience. But in terms of enjoyment, it's, as long as you're drinking with a glass, it's like this. You get a diminishing return. You're going for like this much difference. From here with a pretty good $20 glass to here with a $60 glass. I don't know if you can see that. Here's my chart. And this is very scientifically accurate, as you can see. This is your $20 glass. There's your $60 glass. And you get that much difference in terms of quality of experience. So I would say if you really, really care about wine and you really want to have the 100% experience, yes, it will make a small amount of difference. If you're like me and you break things all the time and you're always very expressive, you might want to hold off a couple years and maybe buy one and see how you do with it. Which soaps do you use? The Barum Hero 321 wants to know which soaps do I use to wash my glasses. I use 7th generation unscented dish soap. I get a sponge. It's got like the like kind of grippy on the one side and the spongy on the other side. And then I put a little soap in there and I soap it down with water and I wash the edge really well and then I wash the bottom really well and I wash the foot of the glass pretty well and then rinse and you're done. And that's how I wash my glasses. If you work in a restaurant, you have the benefit of using the 3-sink method, which is awesome for washing wine glasses because you just have this huge soapy water. You just get in there and then you rinse it just by dumping the whole glass in and then sanitize it, and then boom, you're done. And that is the best. Unfortunately, we don't all have 3 sinks at home. Okay, how about sake? If you don't want to buy a little bowl. Sake is an interesting thing, and traditionally sake is served in the little bowl or the little square box cup thing, and I have been starting to try sake in different vessels, and as much as I love the tradition of drinking sake in a small cup, in these small little cups, I think there's a certain preciousness to sake when you have it in a little bottle. You really need a sort of a precious vessel to taste it out of, because it is a very precious drink. And but honestly, I start to lean towards this shape because I really want to smell it. Perhaps I'm doing it wrong. I'm not a sake sommelier. I don't have enough experience in that to talk confidently, but I will say when I have tasted sake, I really enjoy it out of a wine glass. So sorry for sake fanatics. Show me otherwise. A good Riedel glass from the restaurant line costs less than $10, Bruno Santos says. Bruno, you're correct. They are very affordable. The restaurant line is, if you know anyone who works at a distributorship in your area, that's like a wine distributor who sells Riedel, you can usually negotiate and buy a case from them. This is the Riedel restaurant Sauvignon Blanc. This is the Riedel Cabernet Sauvignon, and I think I spent like $7 or $8 a glass on these, and they're decent crystal, and God, I've had them for years. They're great. I'm not saying that I'm showing any preference, but I think I broke one, and then I gave some away to friends who didn't have good glasses, so, is a good way to make friends. All right, so that's our situation on glassware, and just to let you know, we are going to be holding off on doing live tastings for a while. I'm sorry to give you the news so abruptly and sadly, because this has been a lot of fun. But we're going to be developing some really awesome content coming up, and it's going to take my full attention. So I'm going to be on a hiatus for a little while after this episode, and I really appreciate everyone who's been joining us, and this has been like a crazy week all around. Yesterday night we had the Somm premiere in Seattle, which was an amazing show. It's the second film in the Somm series, and unlike the first one, it's all about wine. It was great. And so today I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? But as soon as I got up here and started talking to everyone, I've really had a wonderful, wonderful time. So this is not because I don't like it, but we've got some really cool things coming out with Wine Folly that I just can't wait to get out there, and I need make some time and move some things around. So unfortunately, you're going to have to find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. And it is me that responds to all that stuff, so you can call me out. I'm there. Anyway, if anyone's got any last words, say them now. And happy 2016. I love you guys, and thanks so much for following the blog. And yeah, if you have any questions, send me an email or Twitter me, whatever, at Wine Folly, pretty much everywhere. So thanks again, and cheers.